CNN yesterday pushed an app that lets you track where ICE agents are. Enforcement, your response.
Yeah, we're working with the Department of Justice to see if we can prosecute them for that.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard about this now, the ICEBlock app. This app allows you to track federal agents in the area and avoid them.
And by the way, if you're a sanctuary state, does that status aid and abet just the very status of it?
And the DOJ is already looking into the legality of this app. Using it in a sanctuary state, could that be illegal? However, it's not looking good for CNN because the DOJ and Homeland Security want to prosecute them for promoting this app. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well, and I think people want to see what's happening right now with this ICEBlock app. Here we go.
CNN yesterday pushed an app that lets you track where ICE agents are. Tom Homan was saying that perhaps CNN should be prosecuted for that. That's obstruction of law. Enforcement, your response.
Yeah, we're working with the Department of Justice to see if we can prosecute them for that, because what they're doing is actively encouraging people to avoid law enforcement activities, operations, and we're going to actually go after them and prosecute them with the partnership of PAM if we can, because what they're doing we believe is illegal.
Okay, before we watch the CNN clip, this is a very big accusation. Basically, Homeland Security is saying that CNN is actively telling people to avoid federal agents by using this app.
The Trump administration steps up ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. It's called ICEBlock, and it's controversial to say the least. Senator Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
Okay, we have to stop here. As somebody who covers CNN 24/7, I got my start in politics because I reacted to CNN clips. It's very rare CNN will spend an entire segment talking about an application, especially how it works. And that's the first big red flag that Homeland Security really has with CNN. Why are we talking about an app that exposes our federal agents in an area right now?
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of immigrations and customs enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want. So
red flag #2. I don't want people to interfere with operations, but I do want people to avoid operations, and that's where we get into the gray area, especially with sanctuary cities. We'll get to that later in the video.
You open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area, and then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert. This is a free iPhone app. It is anonymous. Aaron says he doesn't collect any user data. And what I think is really interesting about this in this moment is we've seen so many of the biggest leaders in tech supporting President Trump, but Aaron is sort of an example of the fact that there are people within the tech industry who are really resistant to Trump's policies.
Red flag #3. Homeland Security is basically saying that part of the segment is where you are showcasing the features of the app and how you could use it if you want to, be anonymous and promote federal agents. That's basically what Homeland Security is really upset about. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can give you guys more updates on this story. Without a doubt, somebody is about to get in some trouble, either CNN or this app, so make sure to please subscribe for more updates.
I asked him what he would say to those tech leaders who, for example, were at the inauguration. Here's what he told me. Take a listen.
I understand that you have shareholders to report to. I understand that you have employees that need their paychecks. But at what point do you say enough is enough?
And John, I should say that ICE did not respond when I asked them about this platform and about Aaron's opposition to their activity.
Oh, don't worry, Homeland Security and the DOJ has responded. They're not happy. And again, like we talked about at the very beginning of the video, there are broader implications. What if you are a sanctuary state that's already being sued, and now you have a tool to make your sanctuary state even more of a sanctuary state?
If you have or put out an application or a warning system that ICE agents are in the area, are you guilty of obstruction? Are you guilty of aiding and abetting in that case? And by the way, if you're a sanctuary state, does that status aid and abet just the very status of it?
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. And people obviously are ICE agents, all of our federal agents who are working hand in hand on these task forces, our federal agents from the Justice Department could be injured. He's giving a message to criminals where our federal officers are, and he cannot do that. And we are looking at it. We are looking at him, and he better watch out, because that's not a protected speech. That is threatening the lives of our law enforcement officers throughout this country. And
okay, here's the massive problem with the ICEBlock app. Even though it looks like it's just for ICE agents, the developer has no way to control who's actually being reported. That's just one problem. Problem number two, this means that anyone in the area, an anonymous person, could say, hey, there's Homeland Security or ICE in the area. Meanwhile, it could be like the CIA or FBI who's trying to catch a criminal in your area, and that criminal can now have the app and get the hell out of there. That is the massive problem and flaw with this app. So now we have CNN basically saying, hey, this is how you use the app, and the developer is saying, by the way, this is all anonymous speech. We don't even know who's reporting it. This is why the DOJ is like, hold on, we have a problem here.
shame on CNN. I just saw that for the first time when you showed it, that they're promoting that app. That's shame on them for doing that. That could hurt our law enforcement officers who are out there protecting them, protecting all of us every single day.
You know, the only reason that we even drew any attention to it was because you were on the program. And I wanted to make sure that you did see it, because nobody watches CNN, to be very honest. And it's important that, but these things do get out there in the ether, and people do know about them, and people, there's a lot of chatter and social media.
Now, something else I want to point out, when it comes to promotion, this is another very general term, because when we think of promotion, we're like, hey, I'm promoting this product, and I love this product. However, promotion can also fall under the category of you are a major news network and you're talking about an application that actively tells people, hey, you can use my app and you can avoid federal agents. That is why CNN right now is probably about to be in some big trouble, because even though they weren't saying go out and get the app, they were still promoting the app, showing the app on their news network.
There's a new app that someone has come up with to spot ICE, basically giving people an alert that ICE is coming. I don't know exactly how the app works, but I know that the Department of Homeland Security and the ICE director, Tim Lyons, is worried about this, concerned. And can you tell us your thoughts about this? Do you think that it is meant to at least give people a heads up so that they can get away from ICE, but also concern for the ICE men and women in uniform in addition to that?
Dana, absolutely. Our ICE enforcement officers are seeing a 500% increase in assaults against them. And a lot of this is because politicians like AOC, like Governor Tim Walz, like Gavin Newsom demonize our ICE enforcement officers and give them free passes. And examples like these apps are absolutely obstructing justice. What our ICE enforcement officers are doing is enforcing the rule of law. If these rioters, these activists, and these politicians don't like the law, they should change it. Don't go after our ICE law enforcement. It's disgusting, it's wrong, and it's un-American.
If you are subscribed to my channel, one thing you know about this Trump administration, we talk about this all the time, if it even looks like you're trying to obstruct or you want to obstruct, you're probably going to get hit with charges for obstruction.
Tom, they've crossed the line here. This is out of control.
I know it's just simply disgusting, and any network that covers that is disgusting as well. So I'm hoping DOJ steps in there and see if they cross that line of impeding federal law enforcement officers. Look, Lawrence, you're not talking about this. Assaults against ICE is up over 500%. Now you got an app that's going to tell where ICE operations are going to be. It's only a matter of time before ICE agents are ambushed.
Again, the premise of this app is just so insane, but I also want to point this out. Almost every single time Tom Homan goes on national television and says, I think this person or organization is crossing the line, almost every single time the FBI or the DOJ looks into that person or organization. The reason why this is rather interesting is because it shows us how much influence Tom Homan has, because he's not leading these prosecutions. However, he's been in law enforcement longer than most of us have been alive. So he has a lot of say in the process as far as, hey, maybe you should look into those people.
By some nut, like what happened in LA, throwing a Molotov cocktail, throwing bricks at these officers. This is just disgusting at every level. So I hope DOJ dives in this deeply, because ICE is concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This shouldn't be an issue anybody's is against. So they're already a dangerous job going after the worst of the worst. These guys are putting their lives on the line every day going after the worst and worst international security threats. And this app makes it that much more dangerous. It's incredible that those who enforce law, all of a sudden they're the bad guys. The ones who break the law, they're victims.
And context matters. As I make this video, and this number might go up, Homeland Security agents are facing a 600% increase of attacks. That is a lot. Compared to every other federal entity, that is like out of this world in another universe really bad. So this is why the DOJ, Homeland Security, and Tom Homan is like, hold on. We already have such high statistics. Now we have an application that literally tells people where these agents are. You don't even have to go out of your way now to find these agents. You can just look up the app and go over to these agents if you want to cause harm, and I hope that doesn't happen.
It's disgusting.
Why would CNN promote this? Why would they do a story on this?
I can't figure it out. I've been doing this for 4 decades. I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's got to be they hate Trump more than they love law enforcement. Or I can't figure it out. But something needs to be done. I mean, you advertise this guy's app on a national TV network. That's just going to bring more followers, sick followers, to the app and use it. Again, letting the bad guy know ICE is coming. They're here. Here's where they're going next. This is dangerous for the men and women in law enforcement.
So true, Tom.
I have no problem critiquing any of these people if they're over-exaggerating or if they said something wrong, but when it comes to Tom Homan, I cannot count the amount of times where he does not care if you protest against him or federal agents. He actually advocates for protesting against them. However, do not get in the way with these protests. Do not obstruct. Do not be violent. You are allowed to protest. Tom Homan, out of everybody in the Trump administration, actively says you are allowed to do this. But now you have an application that's really crossing this line of telling people there's a federal agent here, I'm just telling you, and then, we don't even know who's reporting these people because these are anonymous reports. This is why Tom Homan is really hyped up right now. And I just want to say, he's a rather reasonable figure in the Trump administration. Again, he's able to identify when a story is just blowing up out of proportion, but this to Tom Homan is really crossing this line, and it's very dangerous.
I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called ICEBlock, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise...
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I wanted to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you stated, there's been a 500% increase in violence against ICE agents, law enforcement officers across the country who are just simply trying to do their jobs and remove public safety threats from our communities. And that's something we as Americans, including journalists at CNN who live in many of these cities where illegal aliens are hiding and were let in from the previous administration, should be very grateful for. So we haven't seen the clip. We'll take a look at it, but certainly it's unacceptable that a major network would promote such an app that is encouraging violence against law enforcement officers who are trying to keep our country safe.
As I make this video, this application is more popular than Facebook right now as far as downloads on the App Store, to give you an idea of what has happened. Now, of course, whenever a new application comes out, there are trends, but the point is, this application is literally called ICEBlock, but furthermore, you can report any federal agents. If you were a criminal and you knew about this app, why would you not go on this app if you don't even have to put in your personal details or tell anybody who you are? This is a nightmare for the Trump administration and federal agents. I would not be surprised if this application ends up getting taken down, or the Apple Store or Android is going to have a lot of pressure on them to take the app down as well. Because when you look at all of these applications, there are back ends where the federal government can say, hold on, there are illegal things happening here and you need to take this down, or we can threaten to take you down. So this is why this right here is a very big story. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. As I make this, I mean, this is all just coming out now, so things are probably going to change and be very rapid here as far as the news cycle. So make sure to please subscribe to my channel. Make sure to please like the video so I can give you guys more updates on this story. I will say this, very, very wild that CNN did talk about this app, and as you can see, it looks like there's a lot more buying power with CNN than we thought. This application is already at #1. Thank you guys for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.